Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I'm here with HYIM again. We had him in last week and he performed two beautiful songs for us, one from his last album. And today we're going to talk about your work with youth and activism. So thank you for coming in and visiting me again today. My pleasure. Great. Absolutely. So you work with youth. You're from Oakland, so you worked in the school districts there, and I read on your website you believe that some of the cuts for food and programs for kids, money could be spent better. Yeah. So how do you think so?
Well, we've spent approximately, I think it's $900 trillion on the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, and that's obviously a fair amount of money. While we're in a major, I don't know, not a depression, but our economy is having a hard time, and we're spending this much money on military war efforts. So it's a question of priorities, in my opinion. Like, is it more important to go overseas to kill people, or is it more important for us to feed, educate our children? So I think it's just a question of priorities and what really is the United States populace, what are their values? So, for example, 20% of children in the United States actually live in poverty. That's 1 out of every 5. And this is the wealthiest nation in the world. And here in California, we're the wealthiest state and the wealthiest nation. And California ranks 49th out of 50 in terms of spending per pupil. And it's almost a shame. It's almost embarrassing. And when you look at the amount of prisons that are being built and the amount of prison beds that are increasing, we really have to start asking, what is our priority? Where is our priority? The state was once number 1 or number 2 in 1977 in terms of spending per pupil, and now we're almost 50th. If you think about like the moral ethical on each person, you come to work every day, this is what you do. Every show I do, I have to pay my taxes, and I do. But so far, every person in the United States has offered $7,000 towards the war effort when they break that down. And it's my personal opinion, for me, I don't want my money to be going towards that. And so how do I express that besides voting, besides trying to organize? And I think it's time for a wake-up call when we're in the midst of a recession and we're looking for answers. Meanwhile, we're sending lots of people to war. People say, support our troops, and I absolutely support the troops. But I wonder, why is it, that when they come back, the lack of support they're getting from the very government? George Bush was notorious for giving no support for returning troops, very little. The Veterans Fund were depleted almost to zero. And the mental health issues of troops coming home are very serious. So my question is, why are we over and over sending troops overseas? They're usually uneducated people who haven't gone to college, and they're looking for a way to get to college, and this is a great way to do that. And when they return, we're not supporting them, and there's a lack of support in general in our country for the people who have the least. So again, when we have a lack of food security for children in California, I think it's like there's 3 million children in California who are food insecure, and this is the wealthiest state in the wealthiest nation. It just brings a lot of questions to my mind.
I mean, and as a teacher in Oakland, and you see, or you were, I mean, you could see how the children there, I mean, how are the programs being cut, and how do you think that we could better the school system over there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, throughout California, programs are getting cut. We have, they're suggesting now that we return to 1 teacher per 30 students. And if you ask a teacher, working with 30 students is incredibly difficult at one time. Children aren't going to get the attention they need. I think that I think first you have to look at Prop 13 that was passed in the 70s by Ronald Reagan, who was governor, which basically says you can't tax over 1% for real estate taxes. That's it in a nutshell. And if you look at what happened after that, the amount of money going to schools dropped substantially. So there's a huge movement right around to overturn this Proposition 13. So that's one place to start. I mean, it's a priority. Here we are, you know, half of our federal budget goes to either current military spending or paying off deficit that's owed to military spending. So imagine if we sent all those troops to come do domestic Peace Corps work in the United States, to educate kids, to help them get food, security, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that there's a lot of opportunities. I actually worked in AmeriCorps. I did a lot of work on literacy with kids in Oakland, California. And what I saw was sometimes astounding and quite sad. You know, and the truth is, a lot of people just don't know that this is going on. People don't know that children are coming to school hungry, that their parents are working 4 jobs, 3 jobs just to stay afloat. That welfare keeps getting cut, and they're suggesting we cut it even more, which then people will have very limited options of what to do. The amount of women going to prison is booming because they're trying to figure out ways to provide, and there's a lot of challenges facing people who are poor. A lot of the programs that were supporting poor people are being cut.
And so back in 2006, I believe it was, you tried to raise awareness for this topic in Oakland. Can you tell me how you did that?